لا from where we doing read فصل ثاني. اوكي بسم الله تفضل. Okay, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. What do you understand from this hadith? Ismail, read the hadith and understand. Tell me, what do you learn from this hadith? Read it one time, read it two times, and tell me what lessons do you learn from this hadith? What you learn from this hadith? What lessons you learn? كلمة translate first. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. وعن الزبير قال كان على النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم يوم أحد درعان. There was two armors on Nabi صلى الله عليه وسلم on the day of Uhud. فنهد إلى الصخرة. He wanted to climb up upon a rock. فلم يستطع. Then he was unable to climb. فقعد طلحة تحته. So Talha sat beneath him. Because he formed like a bench or a stepping stone. حتى استوى على الصخرة, until he alighted to the rock. فسمعت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يقول, I heard Rasul saying, أوجب طلحة. Talha has made something wajib. رواه الترمذي. Imam Tirmidhi narrates this particular riwayat. Well, tell me what you understand from this here. What do you understand from this hadith? Any lessons you can draw from this hadith, Luqman? Or even maybe the online people, what lessons can you draw from this? Simple. Loud. Okay, that's one thing. Hazrat Talha radiallahu ta'ala whose service to the Nabi Sallallahu had made Jannah wajib upon him. So what you learn from this, that when you help somebody when they are really, really in need, one is you help somebody when they're not so much in need, but when you help somebody when they are really, really in need and down and out, they will remember you for the rest of their life. So yeah, Nabi, that's the first lesson. The second lesson, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was wearing two armors. See there. Yawm Uhadin dira'ani. He was wearing two armors. So what does that show you also? That to adopt the means in Islam is nothing wrong. In fact, it is sunnat. The Prophet didn't go into the battle without armor and say, I put my tawakkul, I put my trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? So first you learn to adopt the means. Whatever it is, whether it is in battle, whether it is in your work, in your earning, whatever, to adopt the appropriate means that does not go against tawakkul. You adopt the means, but then you put your faith and you put your trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right, so there's a second thing. Not only as they told you, because at this point in time, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was vulnerable and he offered the service to Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. That's why Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was indebted to him and he was grateful to him. And he said that he has made Jannah wajib upon himself. In other words, by the service, he has made Jannah wajib. He said, I'll make to Allah Ta'ala grant him Jannah because of this great service he's rendered towards me and rendered towards Islam. Right. So that there's two lessons you take. Other than that, the relevance of the hadith of the chapter is quite obvious. That we're discussing those 10 people who got the glad tidings of Jannah in this dunya. And yeah, when he said فقد وجب, it means يقول قد أوجب طلحة يعني أوجب طلحة الجنة على نفسه. So the relevance is quite obvious there, right? Getting the next slide. نزل رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم أعوذ بالله وأحب أن ينظر من أحب أوكي. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. وعن جابر نريتنا أثر جابر قال نذر رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم إلى طلحة بن عبيد الله. وعن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم looked at طلحة بن عبيد الله and he said قال من أحبه who he loves who it will please him أن ينظر إلى رجل that he will look to a person يمشي على وجه الأرض that is walking on the surface of the earth. He's still on the earth. He's still here, right? But وقد قضى نحبه. What is this? It is a verse of the Quran. فمنهم من قضى نحبه ومنهم من ينتظر وما بدلوا تبديلا. Right? Remember that verse. He has fulfilled his mandate. He has fulfilled what was required from him. Right? So وقد قضى نحبه. He's fulfilled his obligations already. And you want to see such a person as earth, then فلينظر إلى هذا. Then look at this person. Look at طلحة بن عبيد الله. وفي رواية and in another riwayat similar sentiments expressed but in a bit of a different words. من سره who it pleases him أن ينظر إلى شهيد that he wants to see a living martyr. A martyr will walk on this earth. يمشي على وجه الأرض walking on the surface of this earth. فلينظر إلى طلحة بن عبيد الله. Then he should look at طلحة بن عبيد الله. رواه الترمذي. Imam Tirmidhi narrates this particular riwayat. If you want to see a loving martyr, then look at him because he has already obtained his objective. Mentioned that he protected Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam in the battle of Uhud to such an extent there was hardly a spot on his body. There was hardly a spot on his body except that it was battle scarred in the protection of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So as though he was a walking shaheed because, like, sometimes somebody is very, very ill. You say this person is like the walking dead, right? And then the interesting thing is, he passed away. Remember, I told you in the battle of Jabal and Siffin, we lost a lot of Sahaba Kiram, right? Unfortunately. So he passed away in the battle of Jamal. He was made shaheed in the battle of Jamal. Where is the next riwayat? Right. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. وعن علي قال سمعت سمعت أو سمعت right سمعت أذني من في رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يقول طلحة وزبير حوارية في الجنة جوارية وجه شاراية أوكي شاراية في الجنة. رواه الترمذي وقال هذا حديث غريب. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Narrated on the authority of Ali radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he said that سمعت أذني, my ear heard, من في رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم, from the mouth of Rasulullah صلى الله عليه وسلم, يقول saying طلحة, that is طلحة, والزبير and his Zubair, جارايا في الجنة, they too will be my neighbors in Jannat. In other words, they've obtained such a lofty stage that they will be with me in Jannat. Right? Subhanallah. Allahumma rasuqna. رواه الترمذي وقال هذا حديث غريب. Imam Tirmidhi narrates this and he says, hey, غريب hadith. So the virtue of that is quite evident that they've obtained such a great status that they will actually be with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in Jannah. Carry on. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. وعن سعد بن أبي وقاص narrated authority of Sa'ad ibn Abi Waqqas أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم that Nabi صلى الله عليه وسلم يومئذ on that day, which day? يعني يوم أحد, on the day of Uhud when the Muslimin were under pressure. اللهم اشدد رميته, oh Allah, who should make firm their shooting, وأجب دعوته, and answer his uh, so make firm, make strong his shooting, make accurate his shooting, you can say. Just change the page here. Right? وَأَجِبْ دَعْوَتَهُ, and answer his answer. That's why remember Sa'ad ibn Waqqas was that one who was mustajab da'wat. His answers would be readily accepted. There's a virtue of that is quite obvious, clearing. Right, next verse. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. وعنه also on the authority of Sa'ad ibn Abi Waqqas, he said, أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم said, اللهم استجب لسعد إذا دعاك. Oh Allah, answer Sa'ad إذا دعاك whenever he makes dua to you. In other words, make his du'as mustajab, like how we say. Make his du'as readily accepted whenever he makes dua. And we know the famous story that even as Umar radiallahu ta'ala knew, hear these du'as. Remember that one time a lady was working in Medina, and due to a gust of wind, he lifted a garment up. So Umar radiallahu anhu whacked her, or he wanted to whack her, I can't remember. So as Sa'd said, if you do this, I'm going to make dua against you. So Umar radiallahu anhu was so afraid, he got hold of the tongue of Sa'd and said, please don't make dua against me, because I know your du'as are mustajab, right? So Allahumma istajib li Sa'din idha da'aka. Allah Ta'ala answer for Sa'd when he makes dua, right? So his dua being readily accepted was the result of the dua of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam for him. Right, carry on. Right. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. عن علي narrated the authority of Ali radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he says, ما جمع رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم أباه وأمه إلا لسعد. That Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam did not gather between his father and his mother إلا لسعد, except for Sa'ad. قال له يوم أحد, he said to him, يعني to Sa'ad on the day of Uhud, ارمي, throw, fire, فداك أبي وأمي, may my father and my mother be sacrificed for you. وقال له, he said, ارمي, throw, or discharge your arrows, right? أيها الغلام الغلام الحزور, right? رواه الترمذي, Imam Tirmidhi narrates this particular riwayat. I mentioned to you before. Okay, الغلام الحزور means a young man, a young, strong, healthy man. That is Hazawar. You can say he's intelligent, he's smart, loud, approaching bulugh, a young man. Okay, approaching. Also another one in Arabic also called the murahik, right? So I told you before that for somebody to say, may my mother and my father be sacrificed for you, it's a real accolade that this person, or in simple words, you can say it's a deep expression of appreciation, or it's a very fervent dua when you say, may my mother and my father be sacrificed for you. It's a deep expression of appreciation to say, may my mother and my father be sacrificed for you. Although there are other hadith in where it is mentioned that the Nabi also made this dua for this Sahabi, or he made that dua for that Sahabi, the simple answer is that maybe the person that's writing the hadith, he never heard the visa making for the other person as well. He only heard the visa making for this person. Or maybe when the visa made for this person, he didn't make for that other person as yet. You understood? So it's pretty simple to make the intibaki, because if you ask an exam, but we know there are other riwayat, it says he made for this person, he made for that one, right? And then you got the answer there, right? This is the next riwayat. Okay, interesting riwayat. This riwayat also is with regards to the virtue of Hazrat Sa'ad. So, عن جابر narrating authority of Jabir radiallahu ta'ala said, أقبل سعد, once Hazrat Sa'ad came, right, came into the presence of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. فقال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم, the Prophet said, هذا خالي. What khal means? In the Arabic you say this is ya khalu, right? What does ya khal means? It is your what? Your mother's brother. So here it means here, he is from my mother's family basically, right? فليريني امرؤ خاله. Now say أرى يريد. فليريني فليريني امرؤ خاله. So let any person show me his uncle. What does it mean? What do you understand by that? Check the Shara. Tell me. What does it mean? So let any man show me his uncle. What does it mean? فليريني امرؤ خاله. Who knows? Okay, here they got as good as mine. So it means like this is more or less correct here. What you're saying, mine, yeah, as good as mine. This what somebody said is correct. That my uncle is such a unique person. He's such a good person. That can any of you people show an uncle as good as this? Can any of you people show a maternal uncle as good as this? What they got there more input there. Doesn't khala means mother sister? Yeah, so it's just if it's khalatun with a ta, it will be mother's sister. But if it's khali without the ta, then it's masculine, then it's mother's brother, right? Like also in Gujarati, when you speak about your mother's sister, you speak about your khala, right? Your khala, right? So in Arabic, you say your khala, and in khalatun would be the female version, and khalun would be the male version. So in this context, what he's saying is, this is my mother's from my mother's family. فَلْيُرِنِ امْرُؤٌ خَالَهُ. So let any person show me his mother's brother, right? And I promise you, nobody will be able to bring an equivalent of my mother's brother. Nobody will be able to bring an equivalent of my mother's brother. Right? رواه الترمذي. Imam Tirmidhi narrates this particular right. وقال كان سعد من بني زهرة. So the explaining here, what does it mean here? What does this mean? Why did Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam refer to as Sa'ad as his mother's brother, or his mother's brother, although it wasn't literally his mother's brother? He said, وقال كان سعد من بني زهرة. Sa'ad radiallahu ta'ala anhu was from the Bani Zahra, right? He was from the Bani Zahra. وكانت أم النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم من بني زهرة. And Nabi Sallallahu mother was also from Bani Zahra. So in other words, he wasn't like you can say the literal brother, but he was from the like like how nowadays if you speak to some Malawians, they say this is my cousin, or this is my brother. Even if that person even just come from the same village from which he comes from, then let's say it's his brother. So something similar to that. even though it's not the little brother, but it comes from the same family. So Nabi Sallallahu was saying that what a unique uncle I got. He embodies so much unique qualities. Can anybody else show me that they got a similar uncle to what I have? Right. Right. Yeah, وكان أم النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم من بني زهرة فلذلك for this reason قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم that's why النبي said هذا خالي, this is my maternal uncle. وفي المصابيح, but in some kitabs like this فليكرمن بدل فليرني. In some kitabs it's just saying that can anyone show me a uncle as good as mine? There's some kitabs it's mentioned فليكرمن, that you should honor your uncle. فَلْيُكْرِمَنَّ, that means every one of you, you should honor your uncle. So like how, you respect your parents, you honor your parents, you're also supposed to respect and you're supposed to honor their siblings as well. Like how you respect your father, you must respect your father's brother. Like how you respect your mother, you respect your mother's sister as well. That's why there's a hadith also that say, Al-Khalatu bi-manzilati al-um, that the Khala, your mother's sister, she is in the same status she is the same status as your mother, right? Okay, read the next riwayat. Right. It's a long story, but let's piece by piece. وأنا قيس بن أبي حازم, رأيت الأثارة of قيس بن أبي حازم قال سمعت سعد بن أبي وقاص. He said, I heard Sa'ad ibn Abi Waqqas يقول saying, إني لأول رجل من العرب رمى بسهم. Verily, I am لأول رجل, the first person from amongst the Arabs, رمى بسهم في سبيل الله, that discharged an arrow in the path of Allah Ta'ala. Carry on. Right. So, so here, what he's doing, just to understand what is happening here is, when he was appointed as the governor of Kufa, then people came and uh, they lodged some complaints against Hazrat Sa'ad. So Hazrat Sa'ad radiallahu ta'ala was saying that these people are so silly. How can they lodge complaints against me? Do they know who I am really? Do they know who I am really? Do they understand my status? They say, you know what? Let me tell you about myself. ورأيتنا, I saw myself, oh, this is what happened. نغزو مع رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم, that we went out in jihad with Rasulullah صلى الله عليه وسلم. وما لنا طعام, we were with Rasulullah صلى الله عليه وسلم in the very early stages of Islam, when there was a paucity, a real shortage of resources. وما لنا طعام إلا الحبلة. We went in jihad with Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Then ما لنا طعام, we had no food even. Right? إلا حبلة, we had no food. Change the page, please. So at times we had no food. إلا الحبلة, الحبلة refers to like a leaf of a tree. ثمرة الأراك, we eat leaves. وورق الثمر, and also another leaves, right? So we had no proper food. We should eat. If you look at the forthcoming ibarat, we should eat that like what the animals used to eat. We should eat that which the livestock used to eat, right? وإن كان أحدنا لا يضع كما تضع الشاة. So verily, وإن كان أحدنا, any one of us, لا يضع ما تضع الشاة. We used to drop. Literally means drop, but means we do what? Excrete. Understood it? وضع يضع literally means to drop, but in this context it means to excrete. لا يضع كما تضع الشاة. We used to excrete like what a sheep used to excrete. ما له خلط. It wouldn't have, it would be dry. We didn't have proper nourishment. We didn't have proper food. We used to eat dry leaves. And then when we used to relieve ourselves, like dry things, like the dry waste that would come out of the sheep would come out, right? ما له خلط. ثم أصبحت بنو أسد تؤذرونني على الإسلام. Imagine, this is the sacrifices we made in the early stages of Islam. But then what happened? When I became the governor of Kufa, then أصبحت بنو أسد تعذرونني تعذروني. What you got in your kitab there? تعذروني. They began assailing me. They began to attacking me with regards to my Islam. لقد ثبت إذا. So what he's saying is, تعذروه. أزرا, you got there? أزرا, right? تعذروا, right? تعذرني. أزرا يؤذر. تعذرني على الإسلام. لقد ثبت. So you say, look here, if these claims of this tribe is correct, then لقد ثبت. Then I'm really at a loss. It means I made so much sacrifices in the beginning of Islam. I was the first person to discharge an arrow. We hardly ate anything. We survived of leaves. And now, if it's true what they are saying, that I'm gone, that means I've gone backwards in life. After having made so much sacrifices, now they are claiming like I don't know how to read Salah, etc., etc. That means I've gone backward. Like, for example, I just want to understand this here. For example, maybe somebody says, Lukman done something funny. So I said, Lukman, did you do this? Then Lukman said, if I've done that, or if that means I wasted my 6 years here in the madrasa, then I wasted my 6 years in the madrasa. Remember once somebody was asked, did you do this? Did you go with this person to this place? If I have to go with this person to this place, that means I've destroyed my Hajj. That means I've destroyed my Hajj. So same thing, that if these complaints that are leveled against me, they are valid, that means I wasted my time with Nabi. إذن وظل عملي, and that means I have وظل عملي. عمل is the file. إذن وظل, that means my actions وظل are all misguided. وكانوا وشوا به. You got وشوا. What you got there? What you got in your kitab there? Ismail? Yeah. So what those people, the same tribe I told you, Banu Asad, وشوا به إلى عمر. They complained about him to Umar. وقالوا, and from the monks, the many complaints, وقالوا, they said, لا يحسن يصلي. He does not know how to pray properly. متفق عليه. There's a متفق عليه رواية. So the hadith is pretty simple. It's saying that these people, they came with baseless, unfounded complaints as against Hazrat Sa'ad. And Hazrat Sa'ad was saying, look here, if these complaints are valid, right, then if it's the small basic things, if I can't get it right, that means I wasted my time with Rasulullah. That means I wasted my time with Rasulullah. If I even got these basic things right. Once. Yeah. So let's just look at the details there. Rama bisahmin. He says, I'm the first person to have discharged an arrow in the path of Allah Ta'ala. This was in the Sariya Ubaidah ibn Harith. In the Sariya Ubaidah ibn Harith, this was the first expedition that Nabi Sallallahu sent out, and this was in the first of Hijri. Remember, the information was that Abu Sufyan is coming with a caravan from Syria, and he'll be passing by Medina. So Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam sent some certain Sahaba Ikram to waylay this caravan as part of the war strategy to break the economic might of the Quraysh. We told you that Nabi Sallallahu himself, he put the flag and the turban on the persons who went. This was an army of about 60 people or group of 60 people. So there was no formal war there. But as a side discharged the first arrow here. So when Hazrat Sa'd radiallahu ta'ala anhu was appointed as the governor of Kufa. So some people, and in particular, what I told you, the Banu Asad, they leveled some complaints against Hazrat Sa'd radiallahu ta'ala anhu. They said from amongst the things, they said he's not very punctual with Salah, he's lazy with Salah, he's not very just in dividing the booty, he doesn't go in jihad. So as Umar radiallahu ta'ala summoned him to Medina and said, look here, this is the complaints. And then we learn now from this, obviously, that this is the correct way. When somebody complains about somebody, call them and you speak to them. And he asked them that, look here, this is the complaints that has been leveled against you. Is it correct? So Hazrat Sa'd said, Ya, O Amir al-Mu'mineen, if these complaints are correct, then if that means I haven't got the basics and the simple things of Islam correct, how then, could I, that means my initial sacrifices for Islam is come to naught. So as Umar said, look, yes, this was also my thought, that these are baseless accusations, but just for the sake of protocol, I need to ask you, right? So, as Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu actually sent a representative to go from house to house in Kufa and find out if there's any legitimacy, any validity to these claims. But each one, the report back was only of praise was for Hazrat Sa'ad. Hazrat Sa'ad told these people, if you, sometimes you trump up charges against people, sometimes you are maybe irrelevant. It's like sometimes, you even in a school environment, in a madrasa environment, etc. You get certain people, they want to be the favorite of the teacher. Or maybe in the work environment also, they want to be the favorite of the boss or something like that. So what do you do now? They carry stories. They carry false stories to the boss. They carry false stories to the teachers, etc., etc. Just try to win the favor. They act like they're acting. They act like they are acting within the interest of the company or the interest of the school or the interest of the madrasa, whatever. So as Sa'd said, if you are doing this just to gain relevance, then I make this dua for you, that Allah Ta'ala lengthens the age of this person, and Allah Ta'ala afflicts him with poverty, and Allah Ta'ala disgrace him. So all three, this curses, you can so to say, afflicted this person. This person lived for such a long age that His eyebrows had become so long, it was covering his eyes. When he wanted to speak to somebody, he had to part his eyebrows. He passed the rest of his life in hunger. And he passed the rest of his life in this particular condition. And he used to be asked, he used to say that the dua of Sa'ad radiallahu ta'ala anhu afflicted me. Remember I told him, فأصبحت بنو أسد تعذرني. Yeah, the Shareef is saying that from this you learn also something important, that you shouldn't be unnecessary lodging objections against the ulama, against the imams, especially just to make trouble, to stir up trouble. This word here, al-hublatu, refers to, like it's mentioned here, a tree that used to produce like a useless fruit. Never, it was not a nutritious fruit. See, loud, it resembles string beans. So it was not, it was not something nutritious. So they had to eat this, and as a result of that, the droppings, it was like animal droppings. Somebody, so here in the simple words here, the Sahabi is speaking about the great sacrifices that the Sahaba Ikram made. Salatun, that word, it was like dry. There wasn't even like, because it was dry things that they were eating. So it didn't, it was like dry pieces of droppings that came out. Okay, so the relevance of that hadith is quite obvious. As the Sa'd radiallahu ta'ala anhu is speaking about his sacrifice, etc. The problemas we read, we're switching over to the tafsir now.